You keep dreaming about being chased, about falling, about showing up somewhere unprepared, exposed, in danger. What if that's not your subconscious malfunctioning? What if it's your brain running a survival drill every single night, whether you asked for it or not? For decades, dreams were treated like static, random noise from a resting brain, leftover electrical chatter with no meaning, no design. Freud thought they were coded wishes. Modern neuroscience, for a while, leaned toward the opposite extreme. Dreams as byproduct, a side effect of memory consolidation, nothing more than the exhaust fumes of a busy mind cooling down. But if that were true, dream content should look like noise. It should be evenly distributed across every kind of experience you have. It isn't. And that gap between what the theory predicts and what people actually report is where this story begins. Picture this. You're a hunter-gatherer 40,000 years ago. You go to sleep in a shelter with no locked door, no alarm system, nothing standing between you and a predator except your own alertness. If your brain could use the downtime of sleep to rehearse escape, to practice detecting threats, to run the scenario of the leopard at the tree line before it ever happens, you'd wake up sharper, faster, more likely to survive the next real encounter. That's the seed of an idea that a Finnish cognitive neuroscientist would later turn into a formal theory. Antti Revonsuo, working at the University of Turku, proposed what he called the threat simulation theory in the early 2000s. His claim was specific and testable. Dreaming isn't just accidental storytelling, it's an evolved mechanism, and its primary function is to simulate threatening events so the brain can rehearse perceiving and avoiding danger at low cost in a safe, sealed-off environment. No real leopard, no real cliff, just a full sensory simulation your nervous system treats as real enough to train on. Now think about your own dream log, if you kept one. Chances are the dreams you remember most vividly aren't pleasant. They're the ones where you're being pursued, where you're falling, where something is wrong and you can't quite fix it. Revonsuo and his collaborator Katja Valli, now at the University of Skövde in Sweden, went looking for exactly this pattern across large dream databases, thousands of dream reports collected from ordinary people, not patients, not soldiers, just regular sleepers describing what they remembered. What they found lined up with the prediction. Threatening events show up in dreams far more often than they show up in waking life. Being chased, being attacked, losing control of a vehicle, falling from a height. These aren't your brain's greatest hits by coincidence. They're disproportionately represented, the way a fire drill is disproportionately represented compared to how often a real fire actually happens. Here's where it gets personal, and where the theory stops being abstract. Valli and Revonsuo also looked at children who had experienced real trauma. Displaced or endangered populations, kids who'd lived through actual violence or war. If dreaming is a threat simulator, the theory predicts something specific. Children exposed to real danger should dream about threat more often and more intensely than children who grew up in safety. That's exactly what the data showed. Kids living in dangerous environments had a higher frequency of threatening dream content than kids in peaceful ones. Their brains weren't malfunctioning under stress. They were doing exactly what a threat rehearsal system should do when it detects that the waking world is dangerous. It increases the training load. Now, bring it to Tore Nielsen, a dream researcher at the University of Montreal who has spent years studying nightmares and trauma-related dreaming, including in people recovering from accidents and assault. Nielsen's work adds an uncomfortable layer to the theory. Trauma doesn't just add threat content to dreams. It can overload the simulator. In post-traumatic nightmares, the rehearsal system seems to get stuck replaying the actual event instead of generating varied, adaptive simulations. Think of it like a fire drill that keeps running the exact same fire in the exact same building instead of teaching you to handle fire in general. Nielsen's research suggests that healthy threat simulation is flexible. New scenarios, new variations, new practice runs, while traumatic nightmares are rigid repetition, a system that got jammed instead of trained. So here's the twist, the part that reframes everything. If dreaming is a rehearsal system built by evolution to prepare you for physical danger, predators, falls, violence, what happens when your actual daily threats aren't physical anymore? Patrick McNamara, who has researched the evolutionary function of sleep and dreaming at Boston University, has pointed out that the ancient threat detection machinery in your brain doesn't know the difference between a leopard and a performance review. The amygdala, the structure most implicated in dream state threat processing, fires in response to danger signals in general, social danger included, public humiliation, job loss, rejection, conflict with someone you love. Your brain doesn't have a separate rehearsal system for modern anxieties. It uses the same ancient one, repurposed. This is why you dream about showing up to an exam you never studied for, or discovering you're at work with no pants on, or losing your phone with everyone's contact in it during an emergency. These aren't random embarrassments your unconscious cooked up for fun. They're your threat simulator translating, "I might fail publicly," or "I might be exposed as inadequate," into the only language it has, a dramatized, sensory, high-stakes scenario run overnight at no real risk to you. And this is where it connects to your actual life, right now, tonight. The anxiety dream you have before a big presentation isn't a glitch to be annoyed at. It's rehearsal. Your brain is running the scenario of failure, of exposure, of danger, so that some circuit in you is slightly more prepared when the real moment comes. The unsettling dream isn't proof that something is wrong with you. It's evidence that your internal alarm system is doing its ancient job in a world that's changed faster than your biology has. That reframes your self-talk too. When you wake up shaken from a dream where everything went wrong, you don't have to read it as a prophecy or a symptom. You can read it the way Revonsuo's research suggests you should, as a drill. Fire departments run drills not because the building is definitely burning, but because when it does, in whatever form that takes, you want the pathways already rehearsed. Your brain is doing the same thing at 3 a.m., recruiting the same neural drama it once used for leopards, now aimed at deadlines, breakups, and the fear of not being enough. So the next time you wake up from a dream where you were being chased, or falling, or standing exposed in front of a crowd, don't file it away as meaningless noise. Ask what threat it was rehearsing you for. Somewhere between a hunter-gatherer avoiding a predator at the tree line and you avoiding failure in a boardroom, the machinery stayed the same. Dreams were never random. They were always training you for the danger your brain believes is coming next.